Welcome to Was It Good, the podcast that reviews movies and TV shows. Today, we are taking a look at the state of Attack on Titan. There is potentially a final episode, or maybe more coming. We're also looking at Paramount Plus's newest exclusive streaming show, if you want to call it a show, Halo. I'm Ravi, joined by
Arjuna. This is my catchphrase.
And I'm Krishna. I'm leader of the Bald Brotherhood.
These are excellent catchphrases. I approve.
What was your catchphrase?
Mine is
you gotta say something weird.
Mine is just introing the thing. I don't have to have a catchphrase.
You should.
Oh, here's my catchphrase.
You should have been like,
hold on. Here's my catchphrase. I'm Ravi, and I drink hot lemon water.
tea. Is it not tea?
It's just hot water with lemons. It's supposed to help you with bloating in the mornings.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if that is a true thing.
Your catchphrase should have been, I'm Ravi, and I watched an hour of a show called Halo, and there wasn't a Halo in it.
Oh, no, better. I'm Ravi, and I like diet fads.
Oh, wow.
Alrighty then.
Real quick, which one do you guys want to start with, Attack on Titan or Halo? I personally want to go with Halo because I don't think it's going to be a lot, to be quite honest. Because to be fair, we're only working with one episode, so
Yeah, and you know, it's we could talk about the pilot, and we can talk about
I should pull up
That's
IMDb so I can pull up some names here. But keep going.
Halo.
Halo. Okay, well, I mean, obviously, I guess let's start with how the internet reacted in general. The internet did not like it.
Correct.
I follow the Halo subreddit on Reddit, which Reddit is a not great place. I mean, nowhere on the internet is a great place, except youtube.com/wasitgood. Check that place out.
It's a good spot.
Good place there.
And our website too.
And our website too, wasitgood.info. Don't know why we're just blatantly blasting.
Oh, and our Instagram page.
But Reddit on the Halo subreddit was very kind of like their big concerns were number one, the unmasking of Master Chief. Number two was the CGI of the Covenant, specifically, obviously the elites. That's all. Oh, the elites, and then also the what are the weird, creepy, penisy looking?
Oh, the prophets.
The prophets were there. There was that. Those look kind of weird.
Did you really just describe that as weird, penisy
yes,
dudes?
Yes, I did.
Did you really just do that?
I really just did. So there was that, and then there was also the fact that the music score, which just was kind of underwhelming when compared to like other.
Honestly, I literally just watched the pilot about 2 hours ago.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you any music cues. Couldn't tell you anything musically.
Why
didn't
they just use the Halo theme?
So I looked into this because I was very curious.
Yeah.
I believe the problem is because the music rights. It's a weird combination between 343 Studios. What's that new one? The D one?
D?
I want to say. I don't know why I want to say Destiny.
Disney?
No. Sorry. Between 343 Studios, they're the ones that currently own the rights to Halo. Bungie, who had the rights originally. Microsoft Studios. There's a whole weird thing in terms of what rights are where and what like who owns what particular music rights to what games. So in order to kind of keep things just easy, they were like, we will just do an original score. Because the other big thing with this series is it's an original story. It doesn't follow any of the Halo lore that's already out there in the books, and definitely not in the video games.
There are some
similar
elements.
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 Did you guys pick up on the weird relationship with Catherine Halsey, Keyes, and what's Keyes' father? The daughter Keyes' father's name?
Keys?
His last name is also Keyes.
It is Keyes, but like he has a first name.
General Keys?
General Keyes. Yeah, General Keyes.
Well, so I looked this up, right?
thought-
So it's father, mother, daughter.
Yes.
I thought it was Ulysses.
That was that's actually canon in the video game.
Is it canon?
Yeah, I checked
I
it.
completely
because
missed
I
that.
was like, oh, I don't think this is canon. This must be
Yeah.
new for the show. I looked it up and I'm like, no, it's actually canon. But so I think we should back up a little bit and talk about Halo in general, just in terms of the Halo games are very fun. The Halo lore and story has always been very confusing.
Well, clearly, I
It's
didn't know that there was this relationship.
It's never been straightforward. It's always been a little weird and a little off the wall, which is fine, right? Like you don't, especially back in the early 2000s, you didn't play shooters for
story.
the story. You played it to shoot things.
Ravi,
I
do you
did.
play shooters for the story now?
I mean, no, I don't.
I
tried.
think so.
I tried.
Right.
I tried. So Arjuna for Christmas got me a bunch of PS5 games, and one of them is Deathloop.
Yeah.
Which is this game. It's a first-person shooter game where you're on an island. Some weird things have happened, and you die and you restart the day, and you kind of keep memories. And it's a mystery type shooter thing, or whatever. The problem is, I was like, oh, I want to play a brand new shooter game, and I put it on, and literally 2-3 hours is just fucking reading text on screen, and I started fighting and shooting, and I was like, this game sucks. And then I was like, I'm good. I can't do it. Sorry, Arjuna. If you want, you can try the game. But I just was like, there's just too much fucking reading and understanding. I just want to shoot.
Not even dialogue.
Just I just went back. I went back to fucking
Halo.
No, GTA.
Yeah.
No reading there.
There's no reading there. Yeah.
But right. So it has a complicated lore and a complicated history, and I think the show, to its credit, has continued that legacy.
Yes. In terms of confusing story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anyone like a human working with the Covenant?
Well,
That's canon.
I thought it was there were the UENCUs, the Navy or whatever, the UNC.
The United
Navy SEALs of
countries.
Testicles.
Right, and then they were basically the Empire, and then the rebels were fighting them. But then,
The Covenant showed
unlike
up.
Star Wars, the Covenant shows up, and they're like, "Oh shit, there's actual Star Wars going on."
I mean, kind of. The way the show's presented it, we start out on a rebel planet or insurgent planet. They talk about the lore of Spartans and how they're not human, they're killing machines. And you know what? To their credit, they're right. If I saw one of those Spartans walking like a fucking robot because that's what we got, I would totally be like, they're not human. But I also I think the other thing too, with this show, there's a lot of kind of misdirection, and they kind of made common mistakes, especially around my favorite subject, CGI. They did these creatures they
look too cuddly.
They look
What?
They look chunky.
They did look chunky. Yes.
People put a side-by-side comparison, and they were super chunky looking. And the other big thing is you don't usually do aliens or CGI or monsters that are supposed to be scary in broad daylight. There's usually the nightfall, right? From a story's perspective, that's usually scarier, and they make it more menacing. In broad fucking daylight, the thing that was the scary part of them was their guns zapped people and there's blood everywhere, and it's
it was way more violent than I thought it was going to be. But maybe I just didn't watch the trailers correctly.
It was. That's the one. That's something good it had going for it was violence.
Yes, in fact, that was. I thought that was the best part of the show. Actually, was the first time when you see the people exploding. I'm like, oh, okay, it's going to be that sort of a show. Because I was a little worried right before that it was going to be, I don't know, just a tame version of Halo, what you get in the games.
Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah, I guess my pushback to Ravi's point where the Covenant is supposed to be scary is that I see what you're saying, but I always thought the Flood was the scary element of Halo, not the Covenant. The Covenant were more of your standard just guys to shoot, right? So I was okay with having it in daylight because we were able to see some of that really good action. I'd be a little worried about them doing it at nighttime or whatever, but
at least
I guess it's just a personal preference.
I mean, otherwise you'd fall into the Game of Thrones problem where you have a big night battle and then the studio,
can't see anything.
Then HBO comes out and says, "You all don't know how to calibrate your TVs, morons."
Well, I did. I didn't have a problem seeing that episode, but I do think Ravi's right. It should have been at night, just not dark night. But to Christian's point, I'm curious: has anybody thought maybe they're building them up as gory and bad, so that when they do introduce the flood is even scarier?
Well, there's been no confirmation that. I mean, obviously, why would they confirm the flood's going to be in there? That's kind of a stupid idea.
It feels like they're trying to build their world, and it feels like they're saving some of that stuff for maybe later seasons or later episodes or whatnot, the flood, and even when they showed High Charity, I don't know if you guys, obviously you guys are familiar with the games, but the elite that left and they're going to talk to it, thought oh, maybe this is the Arbiter. This is the elite that becomes the Arbiter or something. I don't think that's what they're going for, but there's a lot to pull from, obviously, from the games, and then they can obviously do it any way that they want. even with Reach, right? Like Reach is still around in this timeline versus like in the games, Reach has already been destroyed. So like they can do that. There's a lot they can do.
Did you guys read the novels at all? Because this, even though it's not an exact replica, this is closer to the first Halo novel that came out, I think, in 2001, Fall of Reach. So this, and that serves as a prequel. You get to find out in that novel the origins of John, Spartan 117, Halsey's experiments, the whole Spartan project, basically, like the backstory of it. This seems to be, it's going to follow that sort of a story arc. This is a prequel to the first Halo game,
right?
Because this is definitely, I think, closer to the first book.
Do you think the season will end with them like getting to the Halo? Like there will be no Halo ring until the very end.
The
of
way
the season?
Christian just presented, that makes sense. Like, build up this character so you give a fuck, and then throw them into this Halo world.
Yeah, because do you guys want to be? Maybe so. I won't say then how the novel goes, because
I read
it would
the
be kind of
novel.
cool for you guys to see it happening in the show.
Yeah.
But if it goes the way of the novel, it actually should be pretty good in terms of.
I'll spoil it because I don't mind.
Spoiler alert
project.
from the title: Reach
dies.
falls.
It falls
I'm not
pretty
talking about
hard.
that.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about specifically what the Spartans actually are and how they became Spartans.
Well, I do have
Aren't
one
they
question.
human beings?
I did not read the book.
Oh, do you not know how the Spartans work?
I kind
No.
of do from like conversations that we've had before around
Yeah.
the Halo games, but not directly.
Okay.
I do have one question though. The cloning stuff that Halsey is doing, is that part of Halo
Yes.
lore canon
Yes.
in games and
Well,
books?
I mean, the fact that there's a clone, yes. I don't think that is a clone to the same sense of a clone.
That's a tough
What I
twist,
mean is so Cortana is based on Cortana in the games anyway is based on Halsey. So she like clones her brain, if you will, and digitizes it, and that's Cortana.
Right.
The way when we saw that scene and that clone thing of her, the way I looked at that was that that wasn't necessarily a physical person.
It's
but
just a
more
husk.
like something like that. That's what I thought anyway, because I figured that was. But then again, I could be completely wrong, and this woman is just batshit nuts, and is like, yeah, I'm so good, I should have a second one of me. I didn't like Halsey's character, which to me is a success of the show, because you're not supposed to like Catherine Halsey, because she's an arrogant prick. Like, she thinks she's a know-it-all and is doing everything in the best interest of humanity. But in order to do that, especially in the games, it's very clear like she has lost her humanity altogether.
Well, and once you find out like what the Spartan project is and what it entailed, she's not a
good person.
She's not a protagonist.
Yeah, and the other thing too is like her reasoning for doing what she did it before there was any kind of threat of the Covenant. They had no idea there was a Covenant thing. So remember, the insurgents in the show are talking about these Spartan killing machines, right?
Right.
Because they were designed to kill insurgents. They weren't designed to kill aliens, because they had no idea aliens existed.
To eradicate any stain.
Yeah, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
was
why
dramatic.
the end where they're like, hey, we got a bad look going on, it's that they're not used to aliens, so trying to sell aliens to a public that thinks the Spartans are already demons is hard enough.
And I think even the
Or
rebels say at one point, they're like, I don't believe that propaganda. Of
Yeah.
like
Well-
the Covenant or like the aliens. Like they already think
Yeah.
because of the was it the USNC, right? Because they've already have this bad reputation. They're like, oh, now they're trying to further manipulate us.
Right.
But like there is this war going on, obviously, because they said it's been a few years since they ran into the Covenant. They know nothing about them still, or they know very little.
They know very little. Yeah, they don't know where they come from. They don't know what they want.
Right.
Remember, the galaxy is a big place, so it's impossible to know what's happening everywhere all at once. Right.
So then the Covenant in this timeline does exist, and the Spartans are trying to
Well,
fight
the
them.
Covenant exists because they're the ones who attacked.
Well,
They're-
no,
they're
but
the aliens.
I thought Ravi said that Halsey created the Spartans before they knew about the Covenant, but in the
Right,
show, they're already fighting the Covenant
well, we
before
don't.
this
We don't know where
happens.
we don't know where timeline's up. That hasn't been established yet. I could be right, and I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I'm leaning more that I'm right because
because you are. You're always right.
And the way that they talked about it too, in terms of like,
Yeah.
it seems like the Spartans aren't like new.
Yeah, they've been around for a minute. Because remember, John is also part of Spartan 2's programming, or the Spartan 2 program. So there was a Spartan 1 program at one point.
True.
Just tanks.
But this isn't the first time that they've seen this Covenant group in this show anyway.
Correct.
No.
As opposed to
It seems like the entry point into the show, they've started with John running into this artifact.
That, and then also the human aspect with Quam.
Is the artifact in the game?
I mean, it's just
it's a Forerunner. It's Forerunner technology, I assume. Correct.
If they're going
Toyota?
with Forerunners, sure. Yeah. We don't know if that's the case yet. I would assume because the Halos are built by the Forerunners.
Right.
That's the whole thing.
Well, I assume. So spoiler alert, obviously for this entire show and Halo lore in general, but it kind of lights up that ship and then they fly off. Like, did anyone? Maybe I'm misinterpreting how that scene ends, but did it kind of give them coordinates to go somewhere? The technology, like I actually thought they were maybe going to a Halo ring.
Oh,
I thought it was going to
that would make
teleport them.
sense if I missed that if there were coordinates, but that would make sense totally.
I would
'Cause
imagine
the Forerunners built the rings.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole
Halos.
reason also the Covenant are looking for that artifact is because they're looking for the coordinates for whatever,
The weapon.
a bigger artifact, right?
So
weapon,
speaking
which is the
of
flood.
Covenant, speaking of Covenant, one of the biggest differences with this show versus the game is there's a human
Female
Yes.
that works with the Covenant.
Yeah.
also they changed the language of the Covenant.
Why?
Well, I didn't think she was an actual human. I looked at it more like this show took a valuable lesson from Star Trek Discovery Season 1, where a Klingon decided to have surgery
To Kuvma.
to become human to understand the enemy. That's what I like, especially when she's talking to the Prophet, and the Prophet was like, "You're reading a human book to like integrate and to understand the enemy."
Yeah.
I looked at it more like either she is some kind of Covenant, either that's an elite or a prophet or whatever, turned human, or she's been genetically grown by the Covenant to once again understand your enemy,
Or
The
maybe
impression-
like taken at birth or something.
or even or taken
well,
at birth.
Not
yeah.
not at birth, but like I think maybe John's sister, and they took her because she can activate the things that she needs to, and they didn't know about John because Halsey had her, and so they took her, and she reads the stories because she wants to know about her people, but she didn't know they knew that she was reading them. That's the impression I got.
I mean, that would be classic TV show where the human on the bad side is connected to the main human character, but that would be kind of boring.
It does. I mean,
Absolutely, but
that's
par
what,
for this
that's
show.
what they're kind of going for, especially with the tech. When like John touches it the second time, you see he made the drawings of it. So now our Spartan is even more important to the story because he's connected to this central plotting device, whatever it is.
So last thing before we jump into Attack on Titan, the big thing here, the helmet reveal, and then also, how do you say it? Is Liv?
No, it's not.
Leave Schreiber.
Leave Schreiber.
Pablo.
Is it Pablo?
Pablo.
Okay, so Pablo came out and said something also on Twitter that was interesting about the whole helmet reveal. I'm gonna look it up, but real quick, you guys, your thoughts on the helmet reveal? Does it work? Did you hate it? Go.
I was. Yeah, go ahead, Juna.
I was gonna say, I mean, I understand why they did it, right? So the reason in the video game you keep the helmet on and you kind of keep him anonymous is because video game you're playing as it, you want the player to be immersed and feel like that I'm the Spartan, right? It's a first person shooter, right? So you're supposed to be the whatever, right? And obviously in later games they've characterized him a little bit more. I know like if you I think beat Halo 5 or something on like the hardest difficulty and you don't die, like you see him take off his helmet and you actually see like his face. The biggest difference obviously from the games and like the books and everything to this is the information you get about his face is like he's super pale, like he's never seen the sunlight. This just seemed like a regular dude in armor, a little less inhuman than what's kind of described beforehand. Which
he's a very beautiful Hollywood man. That's what I got.
He's got a well manicured beard, right? Like they really
Great
talk about
beard.
like they're like, oh yeah, he doesn't really take off his helmet, but it's like this man's well groomed.
Yeah,
he clearly
he does
takes
take his
care of
helmet off.
himself.
Clearly he does.
My impression was, they made him look like the neckbeards who would be a fan of his
wow.
shit.
I'm moving on from that one. Anyway,
I'm
so
kidding.
so Pablo said, quote, in order to know a character, you kind of have to take the helmet off. It's not like in Mandalorian where there's a rule.
I mean, I disagree with that.
Well, so
Yeah,
the reason I
I
bring this up
disagree
is
with that
because
as well.
this was the number one trending thing on the Halo subreddit, where it was basically how to make a Halo show when you don't understand Halo. And then this was the
A lot of
image that
people
they
are going
showed.
after Pablo too because when he signed up for the role, he had never played the game, and a lot of like the fanboys are like, "How can you do that? You don't know nothing about the
fuck
character."
off.
And,
That's such an annoying-
You can research,
Yeah.
and do all that type of stuff.
In fact, I think it's better like if you get someone who is not super in love with it, because then they can bring another aspect to the character that you may have missed.
I mean, I think
Right.
clearly they're doing something different than what has been done before. We just have to see how that goes.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm not
I was
thrilled.
I was okay. Yeah, I was okay with the helmet coming off. I just wish it would have gone back on. Like I was okay for like seeing the face but then every minute after that I was like, okay, put the helmet back on. Put the helmet back on. We don't need because Master Chief, he has his helmet on the entire time that you play the game. I understand this is not the game.
Even though they try to
So,
make you think it is by showing that first person shot way too much.
A lot.
Yeah.
And also the similar sound effects too. Like the shield regenerating, the guns.
Now, in the show though, the helmet was a way for them to track and control him. So him putting it back on probably would have put him at risk.
Could be,
That's true.
like
That's
it's
a
a
good point.
giant
That's a
antenna
good
essentially to the suit.
So does that mean he won't
Yeah.
wear the helmet the rest of the show?
I would bet
Oh man,
safely.
it's not Halo then.
I would say he would wear the helmet most of the time, like probably during action sequences. But as soon as the action is done and there's like dialogue or character development, helmet comes right off.
So I would assume the way the helmet comes back on is he has to get Cortana at some point, obviously, which will go into his helmet and basically override their control. So like Cortana is like his ally and his like HUD.
Along with the rest of Silver Team as well. That part,
Potentially.
by the way, that
Potentially.
part where Silver Team is coming out and Halsey tells him like,
So were they going to kill everyone?
that's what it looked like.
That's what I thought was gonna happen.
Yeah, that was actually like that. They did that well. That was pretty intense. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a fucking awkward bloodbath. Thank God for whatever tech EMP'd everything.
Are you guys sad we didn't get Sergeant Johnson yet?
I don't know if he's been cast, has he?
I have no idea.
Well,
Sergeant Johnson.
I mean, let's.
I
hope
mean,
for it.
he's the second most iconic character in the
Yeah.
franchise behind Chief. Well, I guess Cortana.
Well,
so
third.
maybe third.
And Cortana, yeah.
Cortana
Well,
and
Arbiter?
the blue,
I don't know, Arbiter's
and the blue
pretty-
curves.
Well,
Arbiter's
Arbiter
pretty-
only appears in a handful of games. Like he's in
2,
Halo 2, 3,
3,
and then he's in 5, and then he's not in 1
He's in
4.
cutscenes for 5.
or 6.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right. He's in a little bit of 5.
You guys haven't played the newest one, Infinite.
6? No.
Yeah.
He's not in that at all.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
That story's also weak sauce.
It's like they took Halo 5 and they're like, that story didn't work. Let's ignore everything that happened there.
Let's do that, and
Yeah.
because they keep harping on the problem. I think with the Halo games is aliens are cool and threats to humanity is cool, and now they're like, well, let's just really harp on the relationship between Master Chief and artificial intelligence and explore that, and give it's for the most part like there's some good dialogue, some good like cutscenes, and gets a little emotional, but at the same time it's like it's Halo. I just want to fucking shoot things. Like,
I have a question about the new Halo game.
yeah,
How do they explain that there's a Halo ring around?
around what?
So remember at the end of Halo 3,
Yeah.
all the Halo rings are destroyed.
Oh, this is the last one.
Oh, okay. Oh, sure.
I mean, it's broken. and
Until
it's
the
it's
next
being
one.
repaired currently.
Till the next one.
Yeah, until the next one.
Halo 7.
Yeah. I mean,
God.
I'm sure there'll be another one.
They're changing the name of the series to Cubo.
Cubo.
It's just Borg.
Anyway, I think it's time to ask that question. And Krishna, you get the honor of being asked first.
Or I get to ask first, or someone asks
Krishna, was Halo the Paramount Plus most viewed premiere according to them, and no idea what those numbers are? Good.
I am like right down the middle on this. I'm gonna say it was good. I'm gonna say there was enough interest. Like there was enough elements that I was interested in that I'm going to tune in next week. That being said, I could see this going south real quick. I could definitely be like, okay, by the third episode, I'm like, this is not what I was.
The third? Wow, I'm surprised you give it to the third. I'm gonna give it to the first 10 minutes of the second.
It depends on how the next episode goes. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it was, the action was good. At the end of the day, it's Halo. Halo's not like, like you guys said, you don't play Halo for the story. So as long as they nailed the visuals, there's enough of interest. I'm curious to see what they do with Halsey and the Spartan Project and how closely they follow that first novel. There's enough interest there that I'm like, okay, we'll see how it goes.
So Christian, real quick, this sounds like you're. This sounds like everything you just said sounds like what I said at the beginning of the newest Star Trek Discovery season, where I was like, well, there's some things maybe I'll stick around.
But didn't you like the new
I
Star
like
Trek?
the ending, but like to get to the end, I like the ending. I did not like the journey to get to the
That's
end.
why we did the entire pod last week of TV shows to give up on.
Yeah,
And
definitely check that pod
It was
out.
actually technically an intervention for Ravi to tell him to give up on Discovery.
Well, now I'm telling you guys, if it doesn't work, you can give it up. It's okay. Nobody's gonna yell at us.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, depending on how the next episode goes, like I can totally see like, by episode 3 maybe being like, I gotta drop out.
I will say one thing
we'll
about
see.
the show before I give my answer. The show did make me want to play the games again.
Oh, interesting.
So this is just a big old marketing stunt.
I mean, everything's
Yeah.
marketing, right? Everything's just like you to buy other thing, microtransactions, right? Everything's microtransactions. if
Oh
you
my
really
God!
think
Could you
about it.
imagine if they were like, "Oh, here's the first 10 minutes. If you want to get the next 10."
Okay, you
microtransactions."
know that's gonna happen sometime in our life.
Oh,
right? Like,
fuck me.
to get the true end. Like, what if that's how Attack on Titans? I know we haven't talked about it yet. What if it's like, okay, we have this final episode to get the true ending. You have to pay. I mean, I guess that's what movies are.
So
right?
they've done that already.
$25
So for Attack on Titan Part 2 or Attack on Titan Season 4 Part 2, you could have paid, I think it was like $30 to watch the first episode a month before anybody else, right? So it's not necessarily what you're suggesting horrifically. But
Life
it's
is
a, but it's a similar
access.
idea. But yeah, we gotta get into Attack on Titan. So Christian, kick it off.
Arjuna was episode 1 of Halo good?
It was not good, but it was better than I thought it would be. That's not saying much. I did think this was going to be the worst hour of my life, and it wasn't. I've watched worse. Still not good. Ravi, was the Halo premiere good?
It was not good. I am not a fan, and I'm going to take my advice from last week and be cautious going forward.
I thought you were saying not going to watch the
caution
show,
is
but
Caution
No.
is the word.
I'm gonna give it at least another episode. If it is still just like whatever, I'll probably wait until it's all done.
Oh,
then
and binge.
it. Yeah, I won't do the week to week.
it does feel like the show is maybe made to binge.
I mean, every show is made to
Maybe.
binge.
That's not true. The news is not made to binge.
That would be depressing and kind of psychotic. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, sounds like we're kind of 2-1 on this.
Yep.
Christian's the one holding out hope. Interesting.
Christian, are you upset that?
I am shocked by that. Actually,
Are you upset
surprised.
that Master Chief wasn't bald under the helmet?
Yeah, how'd you feel about
You
that?
know what? Now that you say it, I am. He would have been a worthy entrance into the Bald Brotherhood. Horrible missed opportunity.
So
there.
you're saying you're changing your vote?
No.
Damn it!
Maybe that's part of his character development, is he will grow into the bald bird.
Is this like
there
Xavier
we
in
go.
the X-Men First Class trilogy? Or
Could be.
4 movies. What's a 4-movie set called?
Quadruple.
Quadrilogy?
A quadrilogy?
a saga?
Quad movies.
Guy.
Quad movies. Okay. Speaking of things that are kind of good and are making me nervous, Attack on Titan.
Makes you nervous.
It's making me nervous currently. And at the taping of this pod right now, we have only one episode left, which will premiere on April 3rd
My
at some
birthday.
time based on the region of the world you're in.
Happy birthday to me.
And it has been confirmed the episode, I believe, is 26 minutes. 28
It's not
minutes.
longer?
It's not longer. It's a short, regularly scheduled runtime. But the episode was supposed to come out today, actually, which is March
27th.
Say March 27th?
It's March 27th.
What is today, Robbie?
Today is the day. So it was supposed to come out today, but it was pushed back because there is an announcement happening at some point today. MAPPA, the studio behind Attack on Titan, is going to be doing that. People that are familiar with the manga and are familiar with where the Attack on Titan show is currently, everyone is saying that it's not enough time to finish, this massive story. And based on what we've seen, last week's episode, we see our characters they were successful, right, in getting the flying ship.
Yeah.
And, they still need to go find Eren, destroy Eren, end the rumbling, all that fun stuff.
Well, they have to go. Well, according to the story, they have to first get to the port city,
right, to
fix the ship.
Yep.
Then they have to take the ship, find Eren.
Yep.
Kill Eren, and then you assume as the end of a show, there's some type of multiple wrap up of tying every arc together.
So a lot to do in
26 minutes.
26 minutes seems like a lot.
Is it just going to be like a slideshow?
That's a big assumption.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, what if they just fail and they only need one episode to Eren just wins?
I mean, they did say in the episode, according to Hanji, he's probably already hit.
Yeah. Half the world will be gone.
Probably everyone's dead at this point.
What is Eren doing right now?
He's using the
He's
rumbling.
destroying the world.
He's destroying
literally
the world.
Oh,
destroying
so
the world.
those big giant meat
Colossal
people
Titans,
are
yes.
Just trampling the world.
just going around the world like a sonic wave.
Yeah,
of
it's like that Daft
sound.
Punk song.
So Eren's not really doing anything. He just sort of set it and forget it. Is it like that kind of thing?
No,
or is
he's tied into it because he is controlling it. So
Right.
he's
But we
some
haven't-
kind of creature that is floating, I would assume, above it all.
We haven't seen his point of view since we had
6 episodes ago.
and since he set it off.
Since he was on the what's it called the
corporeal plane?
the time what,
The
what
paths.
the paths,
The paths,
yeah.
with his brother Zeke. We actually don't know where Zeke is. We don't know if he's alive or dead.
Well, he has to be alive because he's got
I guess
the
that's
royal
true.
blood. So he's still around too, some
It-
way or in some form.
So, but we really have no idea anything.
The
So-
Eren side of things, yeah.
The
So
Eren side.
Eren
right.
doesn't exist as a physical person.
We don't
at
know.
this
We don't
point.
know. Yeah, but according to the preview, I don't know if you guys stuck around to watch the preview. It seems like this last episode will heavily be from his point of view, Eren's. Which
Well-
makes me think they just failed.
He wins.
So wait, you-
he
so
just
you-
wins, and you only need one episode.
So then, do you think the worst is happening, where it is truly this is the end, and it is just one episode, and whatever announcement's coming today is just more of a thank you, and that's it? Because in Japan, especially with big shows and things, it's not unheard of for them to do presentations where they thank the fans,
Right.
And they do a nice Q&A and etc.
Right.
So it's possible. A lot of people on the West are saying there's no way they have to do all this, and maybe there's going to be a movie, maybe there's a part 3.
What if this is just they're like, you know what, we're done here. If you want to see the real ending, read the manga.
I mean, it's free online.
It's just like a PSA for reading.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. That's a 6-7 year process. How long has this been going? 7 years?
A long time.
Staying
most of my
school.
life.
The first
to
season
read.
I think came out when I was in college.
That's crazy.
I was in college a long time
It
ago.
was like 2011.
Wasn't that long.
Yeah, so
When
a
it came
decade
out?
ago.
Yeah,
Damn.
because there's a big gap between
Massive
the first
gap,
and the
yep.
second season, years.
They really took their time. But
Well, it wasn't massively popular after the first season, right? And then I think it was in.
Well, they made a movie that really bombed,
The
and I think
live-action
that
one,
killed
right?
killed it
Yeah.
for a little bit, and then it got popular again somehow because it's crazy and weird.
because it's awesome. Straight
I'm
up.
actually looking. I think something may have just been announced.
Oh.
We
Yeah,
got
I'm
breaking
live.
news.
I'm
We got breaking news here live on What's It Good.
I'm trying to confirm it, but it's,
Krishna, let's fill. Okay.
Yeah, you guys fill.
I just Googled it and I couldn't find anything, but that was 2 minutes ago, so maybe I will. I will say it's possible it could go either way, I think. This could be the end, and based on what I know, it could be the end. It could not be. I don't know. It could go either way.
I will say I read an
Yeah.
article, and I don't know how true this is.
You read?
Sometimes that had described the second, in particular, season 4, part 2, and how the adaptation had actually slowed down, right? So for most of the series, for the anime, they did like multiple chapters per episode in terms of how they adapted it, right? For the season 4 part 2, they basically went down to a chapter an episode, especially the last few episodes. In fact, they even talked about in this very last episode, they added like more action sequences that weren't in the actual manga. Specifically, a lot of the Mikasa battle stuff with her one-on-one, like with the shot of the blood raining down on her, that's completely new to the anime. That's not a manga frame.
Oh, cool.
So, which is interesting, right? You'd think, if you're getting to the end game, you might be speeding it up a bit. You might be cutting out some stuff to try and get to the end. But it seems like it's the opposite here, which makes me feel like, as we eagerly await the news here, Christian and I,
there's nothing confirmed right now. Nothing that I can find.
Ravi.
Yeah, I mean, some people are
tease.
I mean, everything is just rumors right now.
It does appear that there is a part 3 release later this year or early 2023.
Oh my God, I cannot wait another year.
I mean, if that's the case and there is a part 3 coming, how do you all feel about that?
Love it. I hope it never ends.
I mean, it's fine. I just I
Oh.
don't want to keep waiting.
So,
that's the thing.
do you want to know something I just read?
As long as
it's not spoiler free.
I don't know if it's a spoiler. It is in a way. It does say that episode 87 will only cover up to chapter 127.
How many chapters are there?
139.
Oh, okay, cool. So that's going to part 3 then. There's definitely a part
most
3.
likely a part 3 or a movie, but
or
that's
both.
or both.
Or it's a part 3 and
Wait,
then
which would
there's
you
a
prefer?
movie.
What would you guys prefer, a movie or?
I'll be I'll be
3?
honest. I was really hoping that season 4 part 2 is going to be it. Like, I'm getting to the point where it's annoying.
That it just keeps
keeps going because the problem by saying season 4 part 1 part 2 whatever, there is like an expectation that it ends, right? If there was just a season 4 and then you call this season 5 or the next thing season 5 or whatever, that to me feels better as opposed to like this part 1 part 2 because you're expecting it, okay, part 2 will be the end or whatever.
Yeah, it's weird. Thinking now back in retrospect of how they've marketed this, when season 3 ended, I think season 4 was announced pretty quickly and they're like, this will be the final season.
Yes.
And we were like, holy shit, we're in the end game. Like, this is it. And it just kind of keeps getting extended and extended. And I think to your point, it creates this weird false expectation where you're just kind of like waiting for the climax, and then it's like, oh wait, there's still like more, and there's
still more 10 more episodes, yeah. And it also fucks with like the emotional part of like what you feel for these characters, because you don't know if there's gonna be more, if it's just gonna end or whatever. Right. Like it's weird. It's unsettling.
Yeah, it's like a movie that has like 6 endings, right? Where you're just like, wait, that wasn't the ending? Oh, there's more.
Well, that's why when Return of the King came out for Lord of the Rings, a lot of people were like, it just never ended. It was like 30 minutes of saying goodbye. It was frustrating. Right. And that's what this is becoming.
Elongated, right? Over weeks, months over months, years over years now.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I think I'm a masochist. I like the suffering when it comes to this show. Like, I've loved all the emotional moments, and I'm like, I want more. I'm a masochist.
In terms of preference, I would prefer a movie. Just because I feel like if it is this epic final battle, I think putting it onto the big screen and potentially upping the production value and making it as the best it can be would be really cool to see. And it'd also just be like really cool to see Attack on Titan on the big screen, and kind of end the show that way.
Do you feel like though it's also becoming like this weird money grab whoring thing where it's like,
yes,
we've seen it before, right? Where Harry Potter, let's split the last book into 2 parts.
Breaking Bad,
let's do the last season. Now Attack on Titan, we're going to up it. Everyone else has done a part 1, part 2. We're going to have a part fucking 3.
The Hobbit.
Hunger Games.
Turning into a trilogy of movies.
Yeah.
For like one of the smallest books.
And that was a fucking pain to watch. Yeah, I don't know. It's like you've done such a good job of like creating this world, these characters, and then you're kind of just shooting it in the face.
Bang.
Because you want more money.
Bang.
Well,
that's not cool.
It could also end. This
could
be the end.
I don't think this is gonna be the end based on like the like things I'm like seeing and people are saying. Again, nothing is official right now.
Yeah, nothing.
And I don't think, honestly, we'll get an official thing here on the West Coast until the usual airtime, which will be around 12:30-ish, 1:30 or whatever.
Do you think about an hour, 2 hours,
2 hours?
Do you think what you're talking about, as far as them dragging it out the way that they did, is a side effect of maybe not being able to know if they're coming back for more throughout the course of their run?
No, it's just things need to end. Things need an end date.
So they've always like. I guess I always felt like for some reason Attack on Titan was always like, maybe we'll renew it, maybe we won't.
I don't think so, because the show is massively popular.
Yeah, it brings a lot,
and it brings in a lot of money. So I feel like the studio, like, it's never been an issue in terms of, do we have the funding to go? This isn't like a Stargate, like, we got to do a finale every season because we just don't know if we're coming back next year.
Most of the time in Japan, when like a anime or a manga is adapted into like an anime, there's usually like a set, you're given X amount of seasons, and that allows the creators to say, okay, we'll either be able to adapt it, for page to anime or whatever, or we'll adapt the story so we can end in a complete way, because they don't. I mean, Japanese culture does not like to leave things incomplete.
And then animation in general, you generally get long renewals, just because there's more production work in a lot of ways that go into animating in terms of just storyboarding and then also creating the visuals and whatnot. So you need a little bit more of a head start, especially if you want to continuously like pump these things out regularly.
Yep.
So like if there was a part 3, right, and they were awaiting the announcement, I think it would be a lot longer than like a year for that to come out in terms of just getting the work done on that animation. So like if there is a part 3, it's being worked on now.
Yep.
I hope so. Yeah.
Because if they hadn't started work on it, it's going to be
another year,
a couple
at least.
Years potentially.
Yep.
For that to come out,
which would be insane.
I think
I would give up, honestly. I think I would be like, you know what? I got things to do.
But then
I feel like you said that when
say that, but
I feel like you said that when we found out about the big break or whatever.
And then Arjuna gave us hope because he's like, winter.
No, that was Michael.
That was Michael. Michael gave us hope with winter
in January, which is what happened, which is amazing.
Could you imagine if
we're still waiting?
If we were still waiting
9 months.
Oh my God, that's insane. I don't think I'd be the same person.
But if it does take a long break, at least in a year and a half, maybe you'll have forgotten that you're sick of this.
At least you would have been able to have another rewatch of the entire show.
Yep.
I mean, the English dub version hopefully would have been out by then. So.
I think if I had to guess, it's a movie. We're getting a movie. That's my guess.
I mean, that would be amazing because I would love to see how this all ends in theaters. Would you guys cry?
I wouldn't cry, but I would definitely want to see that multiple times in theater. Like I would go at least twice.
What if this movie gave you the eternal problems that you have?
It might.
Fly to Japan.
With all that screaming. I will say, I personally hope it's not a movie. I'd like to see it end in the format that it started in.
That's true.
And a movie, and if it's like 12 chapters, it sounds like they'd have to condense a lot into a movie. Whereas I just rather they just.
Unless it's a 4-hour movie.
If it's another 15 to 20 episode or 12 episodes or whatever, just do that instead of trying to condense it into a 2-hour, 2.5 hour feature.
Well, so I think it's Funimation did it about a year or 2 years ago, where they made like movies per se, like movies of like season 1, season 2, season 3, where it's all the like big highlighted events, and they actually work out pretty good. Especially like if you are like brand new to the thing and you want to catch up quickly, they're like good kind of recaps, and they're like each an hour and a half, 2 hours or whatever. So I mean, maybe it'll work. Who knows? Again, we won't know for a couple hours.
Yeah, we gotta wait for this announcement.
Yeah, kind of weird, but I'm sure next week when we review. So for our next pod, just kind of a quick down the road. Our next pod's going to be next Sunday, Monday, or. Well, the 3rd or the 4th
doing
or something.
Morbius? Our next pod is going to be Morbius, which, whatever. We'll make it fun. Trust me, it'll be fun.
even though that movie will be shit.
We'll be vampires.
It will not
But
be
the
fun.
but the pod after that will be more fun because we are going to be at WonderCon in Anaheim. We are going to watch the Attack on Titan final episode for season 4 part 2, and then we are going to find other fellow fans and kind of get their initial reaction. So we're going to it'll definitely be a more, I think, engaged and interesting pod for sure.
Especially if it does turn out to be the finale.
If it does, I believe there will be a lot of people.
Lose their
I
minds.
think people will lose their
Losing their
minds.
minds.
You'll have some weirdos that like set up flowers and candles and weird hippie shit, like, you know, because the show's like dead or something. I don't know.
Wow.
I'd be starting that. Just that's what I would do.
yeah. I'm like, is that what you're doing?
I'm bringing flowers just in case.
Guys, so you guys have seen what's that show called? Matthew McConaughey, Woody Harrelson, season
TV?
1
No.
on HBO.
True Detective.
Oh, True
True
Detective.
Detective.
Oh yes, yes.
The
yes.
serial killer.
Yep.
He was like, "You want to make flowers on me?" Like,
Why does that remind you?
Because you said flowers.
So your initial thing
Wow.
is serial killers.
Yeah.
And Woody Harrelson and
Matt McConaughey.
Matt McConaughey.
Matt
Okay.
McConaughey, not Matthew. Matt.
Matt. Hey Matt.
Maddie.
Hey, Matt.
Your first name basis, short name basis, or whatever. I think that's everything. Unless anyone's got anything else they want to say regarding Attack on Titan.
Is there gonna be
Attacks.
Attacks?
on
Oh my god.
Titan?
Do you think
Attacks
we'll
on
ever
Titan.
know why it's called Attack on Titan?
It sounds cool. I mean, it might that might be as simple as that. It might
Could
just
be, yeah.
be, it sounded
Oh,
cool.
man.
I remember Christian had a theory a long
Oh,
time
right,
ago.
it's on the moon.
Well,
the
like
Titan.
Titan moons or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
the moon
remind-
named Titan.
It reminds me of the title of the manga that Edge of Tomorrow was based on, right? All you need is kill or something like that, or something like that. Like it had a weird syntax to it, but for no real reason except for it did. I
It
don't know.
sounds cool.
It sounds cool. That's the reason. I like it. All right, with that, that's going to do it for us here on Was It Good? As always, you can find us on Twitter at Was It Good, on Instagram and TikTok, TikTok,
TikTok.
TikTok and Instagram at Was It Good Pod. Our website, wasitgood.info, has some really cool stuff and blog posts. Definitely check it out. YouTube.com/Was It Good has all of our pods in full video format in beautiful HD with some cool VODs. Like I said, our next pod is going to be this coming Friday on Morbius, the Jared Leto film that once again proves it's okay to be weird.
Didn't you used to call him Jared Leto?
Leto.
I remember those days.
Goodbye.
Who?